I am privileged and honored to join our Education and Culture Committee chair today to recognize our teachers who we appreciate every day, but especially on Teacher Appreciation Day, and who we understand all the work that they do, the sacrifices that they make every year, and particularly this year. There are few things on this earth that have a greater impact on a child's life than their teachers. We owe so much to our educators over the years for inspiring us, for challenging us, sometimes frankly, and especially in my case, for just putting up with us. None of us on this virtual dais would have gotten here without the support, hard work, and dedication of our teachers, the inspiration that they provided us, the knowledge that they imparted in us. Their impact goes well beyond the confines of the classroom where they teach and lasts far longer than the year in which we're lucky enough to have them. That's true for all of us, and it's particularly true for me. I am so pleased. We have three special guests today, all of whom are highly deserving, but one of whom holds a special place in my past. My former teacher, one of my favorite all-time teachers, Mr. Keller. John Keller has joined us here. He was my 8th grade social studies and homeroom teacher at Hoover Middle School and was my student government advisor for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So I like to think of him as my very first political advisor. And starting my career very young as a student activist and advocate and student government member. I still remember some of our assignments in his class, including identifying every single cultural reference in Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire" and writing the final verse with cultural references of our choosing that brought it from 1989 to when I have them and when we had them, which for me was the final decade. He's now the head of the BCC Democratic Breakfast Club, carrying on his legacy of engaging local residents like he did so passionately as a teacher for so many years. Welcome, Mr. Keller. I also wanted to recognize Daniella Wilson, who is a teacher and is here on behalf of the Montgomery County Education Association. She is a first grade teacher at Wheaton Elementary School. She has been teaching there for the last 8 years, and she says, like so many other teachers, that the best part of her teaching experience is the students that she has. She told us that teaching children who are so young is so fun and exciting. And we appreciate her hard work, her dedication, and her being here to represent all of the teachers in the public school system. And with that, we're going to hear from all three of our special guests after Councilmember Rice and I read the official proclamation. But before we do that, I'd like to turn it over to my friend and colleague and our Education and Culture Chair, so he can introduce our last guest and make a few remarks as well. Councilmember Rice.
Well, thank you very much. Excuse me, Councilmember Friedson. And I couldn't agree with you more about the importance of teachers. In fact, it's very personal to me because many of you know I'm the son of a teacher, then principal, then university administrator. And so I've lived the life of knowing just how important the role that my mother played in people's lives. And I know the important role that each of you play in your lives. So important, in fact, that I remember, and this is why I'm so happy to be able to introduce Mr. Bostic, that my mother actually went to my school at Belpre Elementary School and said, why is my son not having any teachers of color? Why does he not have a single solitary person to teach him? And why do we not have diversity in our schools? It's important for my son to see that. And so I'm so proud to be able today to introduce Mr. Bostic, who not only continues to crusade for growing diversity in our workforce by promoting and retaining male educators of color through his bond program, but who also sets the example himself as a phenomenal teacher, a person who continues to outreach to his students, and who has been named Montgomery County Teacher of the Year. So it is phenomenal. And the great thing is, and I'm just going to say now, I have no voting in how this happens, but I'm very proud to say that he is at Dr. Martin Luther King Middle School right in Germantown, Maryland, where many of you know I live, the area I represent. So I'm doubly proud. Proud in the sense that we get to highlight our great teachers today, as we should every day, but then also to be able to see someone who's working in a community that represents many children of color, many children of lower socioeconomic means, but does not let that area determine those children's future, who makes sure that he stands up for whenever a child learns critical thinking, somewhere a conspiracy theory dies. We did some research on you, Mr. Bostic, and saw that meme, so we got that for you. And I'm just going to close with this last piece because it's incredibly important. It's the future of teaching, and it's what we see happening with teachers like Daniella, with teachers like Mr. Bostic, to where it is one in which they're using new methodologies to help to teach their students, using data to help adjust instruction, to make sure that they're reaching their children. And if there's not a topic that's grasped, figuring out a new way to teach it so that you can ensure that they're not missing that core element that's important. These are the things that our teachers do each and every day. And I want to make sure that, as my good friend, Councilmember Duando says, for the millions that are watching at home, I want you to just pause for a moment and think about the last time you tried to teach something to your child and how difficult it was and the repetitiveness that was there and the sometimes frustration you had. But because of the love and care, you kept going at it. Well, that's what our teachers do each and every day, every waking hour that they're in the classroom. That's what they do because they love and because they care. And so we owe a debt of gratitude for our community being the great place that it is because of the strength of our teachers in Montgomery County and for teachers like Joseph Bostic. I turn it back to you, Mr. Friedson.
Thank you, Councilmember Rice, and congratulations, Mr. Bostic, on behalf of all of us on your well-deserved recognition and welcome. I just wanted to thank Mr. Keller, Ms. Wilson, and you, Mr. Bostic, and for all of our students, for all of our families. We are, as a county, only as good as our education system and the students that we can inspire and the talent that we can cultivate in order to build a stronger, better economy and a more civilized society. So thank you for everything that you have done. I am also the son of a former teacher, former Montgomery County Public School teacher, in fact. And so great to join as well. So now we're going to read the proclamation. This is a proclamation of the Montgomery County Council. Whereas there are more than 18,000 teachers currently working in Montgomery County in public and private schools, providing compassion, patience, understanding, knowledge, and creativity to students of all levels. And
whereas teachers impart wisdom, engage imaginations, advocate for their students, and create a nurturing class environment every day, and with impact lasting beyond their teaching years. And
whereas outside of classroom time, teachers spend countless hours preparing for classes, tutoring, coaching, and continuing to be a part of students' lives, encouraging diverse thoughts, skills, and talents. And
whereas teachers are resilient and deserve sincere gratitude for their part in forming the innovative minds that serve Montgomery County and the world now, and in future for generations to come.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland, hereby recognizes Teacher Appreciation Day, and be it further resolved that the County Council honors teachers, educators, and those who have committed to students of all kinds to provide the world with new passions and lasting knowledge, presented on this 4th day of May in the year 2021, signed by myself, Councilmember Rice, and Council President Tom Hucker. Congratulations. Happy Teacher Appreciation Day. And thank you on behalf of all of us for everything that you do and have done and will continue to do to inspire future generations to come. The ripples of your impact will continue to benefit our county as we move forward. With that, I'd like to turn to Mr. Keller. Normally he would call on me, but now I get to call on him. So with that, Mr. Keller, if you have a few brief remarks.
Thank you, Andrew. When it is open, I am a docent at the Library of Congress. And perhaps the most iconic piece of art there is the Elihu Vedder's a Minerva. And there are a number of objects in the picture, and we talk about them. And I asked the group, why do you think there's an owl there? Well, of course, because it's a symbol of wisdom and it can see things from many directions. So I tell my touring group, I had this student once who had this remarkable talent. My partner, Holly and I were out for lunch one day with Andrew, and there was an upcoming race for the county executive, among other things. And I asked Andrew about the two most formidable candidates who at that time were running for the office. And he proceeded to describe the strengths and weaknesses of the first candidate, and then the same with the second candidate. And not only, in my opinion, was he right on, but he gave no hint of what his own preference might be. And so I'd say to my group during, I'd say that's to me the indicator of an educated person who can see things from many points of view, doesn't agree with them necessarily, but can thoroughly understand and explain where that person is coming from. So I spent 44 years of my life following my passion, which was to be a teacher. And I was blessed to meet just outstanding young people like Andrew Friedson. So I'm grateful to my friend and former student and now council member, Andrew Friedson.
Thank you so much, Mr. Keller. Really touched by your words and comments. I'd love to turn it over now to Ms. Wilson.
Thank you. I'm honored to speak on behalf of my 14,000 colleagues in Montgomery County Schools. This year, even more than most, educators have been proving that education is not a building or grades. It's a connection with our students and a drive to see them succeed. So last March, MCPS closed buildings for 2 weeks. And as we watch this global pandemic grow and those 2 weeks become a year, we had to adapt learning to a virtual environment. We supported students who had no internet, who had no Chromebooks, and who were scared for their families. And educators did this as we were dealing with the effects of COVID in our own homes. So, as Yoda says, do or do not, there is no try. And day after day, educators did. We showed up for our students and communities, and we continue to work for all of the families in Montgomery County. I do want to thank the council for their leadership in this unprecedented time and for recognizing the work of educators.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate everything that you and so many other teachers have done. I now turn it over to Mr. Bostic, Teacher of the Year.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here today. And thank you to all of our colleagues in Montgomery County Public School System. Through this challenging time, it's been very important to have your leadership and what you're doing for our communities. There's a Chinese proverb that says, if you're planning for a year, sow rice. If you're planning for a decade, plant trees. If you're planning for a lifetime, educate people. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week. The work that we're doing is important, and we help our students prepare to be lifelong learners, critical thinkers, and problem solvers. Thank you for continuing to encourage all students to invest in increasing their knowledge, because knowledge is food and knowledge is power. Thank you, teachers, for continuing to use your superpowers daily to help students tap into their superpowers and become the best version of themselves. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bostic. Thank you to all of you, Mr. Keller, Ms. Wilson. I'll just say that our education system isn't about the quality of test scores, but the quality of our teachers. And you all represent that so well, and really appreciate everything that you have done and will continue to do. And we are a quality community because of our teachers and our education system. And thanks for representing that at Teacher Appreciation Day.